Welcome to the Tabletop Gaming Guild podcast. The podcast is all about the experiences and memories that playing board games with friends and family can create. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the Slippery Rock Con. It's our local area convention, and we have with us today Ron Rummel, the convention coordinator. As always, your host, James Wilson, and
Nathan Wilson.
Get this kicked off. Hey Ron, why don't you give us background on the Slippery Rock Convention, how it got started, and what it's all about?
It got started because I'm friends with a librarian at Slippery Rock Community Library. She used to do story time for my little boy, and she knew I was into this kind of stuff, so she talked to me and said that somebody wanted to have a little cosplay thing. They wanted to do like a little event and have like a mini convention, like Harry Potter tea party kind of thing. And I said, we can do better than that. And in 2017, in about 4 months with no budget, we pulled together an event that had about 160 people and brought in a couple $1,000s to the library.
That was at the Slippery Rock Rec Center, right?
Yeah, it was Slippery Rock Parks and Rec. We had a lot of fantastic volunteers. We had the Adventurers League for D&D. We had Pathfinder, Shadowrun missions, and all the main things. We had Three Rivers Cosplay came up and did cosplay seminars, Kid and Me cosplay. You know, we had some vendors there, and we had people even doing some Nerf fighting outside.
If I remember right, overfilled the hall.
It was so full that there was no place to park. So I had people tell me later they decided not to go because they couldn't park. I mean, we actually had people go outside and play D&D under a pavilion on the picnic tables. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, a super good problem to have your first convention that you just didn't have enough room, period. It would be nice if you did, but it's a good problem. Hopefully with the new one that's coming up, you'll have the same problem, but I can't imagine you fill the whole campground.
This year is going to be November 1st to 3rd, and we're going to be at Camp Bucoco in Slippery Rock. Now, Camp Bucoco is a Boy Scout camp that has miles of trails. There's a lot of buildings there. We have a ton of space to expand and grow. There's a big dining hall. Library Friends Group are going to run the food out of the dining hall. We actually just had a meeting with them yesterday to talk about starting to get menu ideas, kitchen times. So they're already planning that. We're going to have some board games in there. We have vendors in there. We have the Preston Center at the site too. It's a very nice building. It has a lot of separate rooms that we're going to use for role-playing games and games that, might want to be a little more quiet. We actually think we have enough room in there to possibly put cosplay in a hall as well. If we don't have enough room for the cosplay in that room, we actually have another building we're going to put them in. We also have some live-action role-playing going on at the con. We have building set aside for, remember the old Mind's Eye Theater Vampire?
Mm-hmm.
There's a game that's been running over 20 years. It's been kind of restarted a couple of times, so to have character points, that kind of thing. But new players just fit right in, and they're actually going to show up. They're going to do Friday, Saturday. We have Fallout Airsoft LARP. So if you like the Fallout series, we have a World War I Boffer LARP. They built a Nerf Gatling gun with these big wheels, and the players get to wheel this monster out and shoot the bad guys.
That's going to be really cool how they're going to lay that out. A lot of room to go.
Yeah, they have miles to go. And we met with the live action people, and we did a walk around and laid out kind of who goes where so the different groups won't run into each other. And there's miles of space. So it's going to be a ton of fun. The Dagahir people are going to do some demos.
What is that?
Oh, Dagahir is like a live action Nerf battles. So it's fantasy style.
Like the Nerf guns or the Nerf sword?
You get in full costume and fight with foam weapons. And then at nighttime, our friends with the Outer Rim Praxium, they're going to do lightsaber fighting. So they're going to light up their sabers at night. And we have a big open field right beside the dining hall. Basically, think like professional wrestling, only Jedis and Sith.
That's going to be super cool.
Yeah. They smack talk, and then they kind of throw down. They fight with different styles. It's not scripted. You have winners, losers. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But that's Friday and Saturday night both.
So is this just like a groups that get together that pre-exist, or can just anybody join in and participate?
Anybody can join and participate in any of the events in the convention, period. The vampire groups, like I said, it's been around 20 years. They take new players all the time. They take people who have not played in 10 years and want to come back. They're fine with that. But it's just the old Mind's Eye Theater Laws of the Night book. So the old book that you remember from the 90s, that's the rules they play by. And they're going to have a couple different cabins and a little bit of other areas that they're going to play around. But it's a political LARP. So you're going to deal with a little bit of backstabbing, a little bit of social, political stuff. And really the physicality of that game is a rock, paper, and scissors. Whereas the Fallout LARP, it's an airsoft LARP. So you're going to be a brand new character. You're coming out of a vault or something like that. And they are going to take you through a series of adventures. Maybe you'll meet some non-player characters or run into things along the way, and you have to survive. The World War I LARP, it's just kind of a one-shot. You're a soldier in World War One, and they have kind of an alternate timeline where the Prussians did a little better. So you have to help fight them back.
You have like a plethora of like LARPs for this, but you also have like a ton of different RPGs and some RPGs that people may never have heard of before. For people that like playing RPGs, you have a huge selection at this convention.
Massive props to the administrators at Warhorn, who's managing our site. They have already added, I think, 4 or 5 games that weren't in the Warhorn. I mean, Warhorn's huge. Thousands of people use it on a regular basis. And we're adding a bunch of game systems that are just uncommon games. Like we added Cruel Seas, which is a miniature game. We've added Dark Times. We've added Blades in the Dark. And there's a few other games like Monster Apocalypse is going to be played. So things that you don't see on a different cons that you go to, you're going to see them here. We have a guy running Dragon Dice the whole con, and he's doing demos. You can come play it. These are things that you don't normally, you go to a con, you see D&D, you see Adventurers League, you see Pathfinder, and I like those games. I play those games. But it's also pretty cool to be able to go and try new things that you don't have the opportunity to experience elsewhere.
Dragon Dice? What is that? That sounds interesting.
It's an old game from, I believe it was TSR. Like I said, I'm an old gamer. Basically, they're collectible dice. Your dice pile is your army, and you're throwing down against the other person's dice pile.
Oh, okay.
So each dice is a fighter or an orc or whatever. And depending on how it rolls and how they roll, outcome is determined.
So sort of like an epic version of Dice Masters.
I'm not sure. I've never played Dice Masters.
Dice Masters is one of those collectible games, so unless you want to lose all your money, Dragon Dice is probably better.
There's an adventure writer called Adventures in Philibar. You'll find it on Drive-Thru-RPG. And in the first convention, he wrote 3 custom adventures for us. And he supported them with prizes for everybody who played in the adventures. Well, he's returning this year and writing custom adventures for us again.
That is awesome.
His name's Frank, and he's just an awesome guy. I want to give him a shout out. He's already sent me some correspondence back and forth about the next installment in the adventure series.
That is really cool. So not only do you have the LARPs and you have the RPGs, but you also have a table of at least miniature wargaming too, don't you?
Before we hop onto that, I want to say if you like OSR, like all the old school, we have a bunch of that. A bunch of people came and submitted old school, like Labyrinth Lord, like the old Red Box D&D type stuff.
So just to explain a little bit better, what is OSR?
It's like the old school Revolution. If you remember the old Red Box D&D, an elf is a class.
Yeah, the first edition.
It's actually before, it's like the basic edition. So take some of the older editions of the game, and when it became public license, they made these different retro clone versions of it. So anything that's a retro clone's OSR. So there's a bunch of different old school style games that I just don't see at a lot of the other cons, and I think it's pretty cool. Like we have a Buffy game being run.
Yeah, I saw that. That's going to probably get a good amount of people for that.
As far as miniatures, we have Darn the Torpedoes, the Cruel Seas, kind of a World War One-ish. No, it's World War II. Yeah, World War II. I know there's Monster Apocalypse. Well, there's your board game Mansions of Madness. Yeah, there's a bunch of board games on here. Yeah, there's Scenic Dunsmith. We have right now 69 separate games entered, and a lot of those are being run multiple times.
That is awesome.
And there's War Machine and Hordes Tournament.
Yeah, War Machine's almost a given for that too.
War Machines and Hordes, and the guy who runs that for us, Les, is just fantastic. He helps with local cons, and he does a really good job.
Super excited about that whole hall area. That's going to be really cool. Lots of board games being played. Definitely say Mansions of Madness, if you've never played it before, definitely sign up for that one. Plus, there's a ton of other games, whatever you like.
Just a lot of different things. Let's learn to play Sushi Go Party, learn to play Wingspan, learn to play Alhambra, Lords of Waterdeep, Eastern Wonders, Terraforming Mars.
I'm going to say Wingspan. It's a really hard to get game, and that might be your chance to actually play it before it comes back into stock so you can make the decision whether you want to get it or not. But I'm going to say it's an awesome game, so that would be another one you really want to sign up for.
And if you're not into any of that, you want to just check things out, we have a whole series of cosplay and panels. The Nerd Couple Cosplay, it's a husband and wife that do professional style cosplay. They have their own Facebook group. They show up at cons. They have their own table. They have a bunch of professional outfits, very, very top-notch people. They're going to show up and they're going to help manage the cosplay panels and events. Panda is coming up from Three Rivers Cosplay and Panda Photography, and she is going to take pictures of the different cosplay contests that happen at the convention. So people will be able to get a picture of their character, which when you cosplay and invest that much time and money, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because being a Boy Scout camp, there's a lot of nice places to get pictures too.
They were doing a really neat event where you show up and they have this area where you make your own costume there. Are they still doing that?
It's called Cosplay Chopped, and that's on Friday night at 7.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like the TV show Chopped on the Food Network. You have to kind of run over, grab your ingredients, and then build some kind of cosplay costume out of them in a set amount of time.
Yeah, that'd be a great event if you didn't have time to do one, and you could actually do it there and still be able to participate in that.
Well, you can always go and participate. You can be part of the panels without having a costume too. The Vampire Storytellers are actually going to do a panel at 1 o'clock because their games run from 2 o'clock to 11 on Friday and Saturday. So at 1 o'clock on Saturday, they're going to do How to Vampire. So if you're interested or curious about the game, or you have questions about the game, it gives you an hour to kind of go in, ask questions about the game. Is it something I want to play before I invest my time in it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really helpful too, because I mean, there might be people that want to think about it, but they have no idea what really they're getting into. And that's a good opportunity to see if that's your right fit, or you might want to try something different.
At noon on Sunday, we have somebody who is going to help teach people how to make chainmail.
Oh, that's cool.
If you want to learn to make chainmail, whether it's making a chainmail dice pouch or want to make a suit of armor, that's where you can learn.
You have a special guest coming in too, don't you?
We have a few. Well, again, from the Outer Rim Praxium Lightsaber School, it is coming up from West Virginia. We have Max Sterling from LARP Mix. It is YouTube's 4th largest LARP channel. So pretty cool. And it's kind of nice. We have all these different LARP events. He's going to be able to come in and he's actually going to try and play the different LARP events. So you get a chance to play with him. And you can go check him out on his YouTube channel at LARP Mix.
If somebody wanted to participate and maybe host an event, is there still spots available, and how would they go about doing that?
Oh my goodness, yes. You just contact us, register at the Slippery Rock Con Warhorn site as a GM, and then in the notes section, submit the games that you want to run, or you can click the email the event staff and submit the games that way, or you can go to our Facebook page and hit message, and I'll get it there. If you want to help and you don't know how to run a game, I could use help with somebody to do like a paint and take table. I could use help with things like that.
Are you doing a paint and take table?
I would like to. I just need a volunteer to sit there and help. I have a bunch of miniatures, and Rich bought a bunch of those. Remember those Magic the Gathering boxes that come out at Ollie's for $5? We bought a whole bunch of them. You could just prime them and give them out to paint for like a donation or something. Just email me by clicking the email the event staff on the site, or you can just register as a GM and then in the notes section submit your game, or you could click the Facebook page and message us there and we'll get your game submission. If you know how to run like Dungeons and Dragons, but you say, I don't know what to run, just contact us and I can get you an adventure to run. For adventurers leagues, we need GMs who are willing to run adventures. And we already have adventures picked out, and we're going to run the same ones each slot. So we can set you up. We're only doing the 1st through 4th level adventures for Adventures League. That way it's accessible to everybody coming into the convention.
Yeah, so the moral of that is, like, if you want to run something, you really want to do it, just go to the warhorn.net website. We'll have a link in the podcast notes to it, and I'll also put a link on our website, too, so you can go straight to it. And you can email the event staff directly on there, and they'll take care of you. That's basically the moral, right?
Absolutely. And really, if you want to help, I have something for you to do.
This is also a charity event, correct?
This is. Going back to how I got involved with this, it is 100% benefiting the Slippery Rock Community Library. This is a small community library that doesn't get any federal funds. It has a big impact for children's programs, for community outreach programs, for everything from computer job training for people who live in the community, all of that is impacted by people buying an extra $10 food card when they go and game there.
Yeah, that's something that's often missing at some of the smaller conventions. That's kind of nice that you actually have food available, and it looks like it's fairly reasonably priced food, too.
Just had the meeting this week, our first meeting to talk about the food. And the Friends group have run a lot of other events. They're used to handling like high school football type food events. So they're used to handling food for crowds. And one of the concerns that we had was we want to make sure everything's affordable and accessible. We're trying to avoid messy because we know people are going to have their nice costumes on, and we want it to be filling. So, we have talked about a lot of different kinds of foods, and something that's going to be able to get people through the line quickly, because we know people like to go back to their games. Cost is definitely a factor, and we want it to be good.
Yeah, I do appreciate no nachos being near my board game, too. That's good.
The cheddar dipped miniature.
The cheddar dipped miniature. Like, no, don't get that on my cards. Oh, now you got my anxiety.
They're committed to try and make this a good event for all the people attending. And we're looking at the pre-registrations, and we're trying to gauge how many people are going to be there, because it is a charity event. We don't want to overbuy. What do we do with any leftover food too? So we're trying to make it right. We think we have a pretty good beat on it. If we have to make a Sam's Club run, we will. There's probably going to be snacks and hot dogs available all the time. And there's going to be some set meal times for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a volunteer staff. It's probably going to be a small staff because it's all volunteers. So we want to make sure that we can get people through the line quickly. And we want to make sure that all the food's hot and ready to go and fresh and hasn't been sitting on a roaster for hours. So we're going to have meal time, so they have time to prepare in between the meal rushes.
We both grew up in Slippery Rock, and I actually remember the Slippery Rock Library used to be at the rec center, and they used to have this little tiny closet that was their entire library because that's all they could afford. So it's super cool that events like this actually help them get into that building that they have. I mean, they still need a lot of funding to get that thing going, but it's just amazing how much more they can do because of events like this.
Everything definitely helps. It matters. When you do something like this, it has a huge impact on the community as a whole. When we first did the 2017 RockCon, the library was in that little 10 by 14 room, and the con happened all around the library. And this time, we went to a bigger site just because we didn't want to run into the problems we had last time. We want everyone to be able to go there, have no trouble parking. We want to have lots of room to play and hopefully have room to grow.
And even if you outgrow all the buildings, there's plenty of rooms to put up tents and stuff. Nice venue for that.
What's going to make this unique, though, is that it is a nice venue, but when you think conventions, you think a convention center, and you're thinking of kind of sterile environment. This is a lot more nature. There's trees. The buildings are separated. There is that challenge for us in the Preston Center, which is separate from the dining hall. We're going to open a snack center. So there'll be snacks available for the people playing in that building.
So I say it's almost like a nerd retreat.
Almost. Because it's not a convention center, it gave us the opportunity to bring in all these different LARPs and do all this kind of geeky, cool stuff that is really fun, and it's kind of part of the whole gaming culture. But you can't do it at a big con because you don't have woods.
Yeah, I could see it being not too exciting to LARP indoors in a big auditorium or something.
It just doesn't work. You couldn't do the World War I Nerf battles. They're going to set up, they have fake barbed wire they're going to set up, and it's fake. It's not real, but they have some smoke bombs they want to deploy to simulate the gas going off, things like that. That's something you couldn't do. You're not going to see in a Gen Con or Origins people running around shooting airsoft. That's not going to happen. Of course, they're going to have the goggles and the safety equipment for the people who are playing. Everything is going to be done in a safe environment. They have a set area they're going to be in. It's actually going to be very neat. We have miles to work with. So we kind of have this unique opportunity that you just don't see elsewhere.
And like Gen Con and Origins and all that, they're all actually more like on the commercial end, where this is more, seems like something more that's going to focus on the community, on the gaming community, the LARPing community, and really letting them come out and do what they like to do, instead of being more focused on the vendors and selling things.
We do have vendors. I don't want to discourage anyone from going to our vendors. We have some wonderful support from Bell's Comics in Grove City. One of the vendors sets up and does custom buttons that have very cool geeky themes. We have a jewelry maker, some people like that. But it's not commercialized. It is a small con. It's based around the library. And the idea behind the whole thing and what Karen and I really want, and Karen is the director for the library at Slippery Rock, what we really want out of this is to try and get young adults, whether they be, teens or 20s or 30s, to understand what they can do with the library, what the library can do with them, bring awareness of the library as a community resource. Because as people change their habits and books become more ebooks and things like that, the library changed roles too. The library is more of a community resource now than it has been in the past. And the Slippery Rock Library might be small, but they are part of the Butler system, and they can get any book from any other library in Butler County. So you have all that available to you, and there are job seminars and things like how to use computers, how to use training tools available. They just did a show on the planets for children brought in from Jennings Environmental Center, which was pretty awesome. So that stuff's all out there for the community. And we just kind of wanted to be able to bring in this geek culture, because geeks love books, geeks love the library, and kind of highlight, here is what the library can do for you too.
That makes the big difference between your origins and your larger conventions and other conventions that focus on different things. This seems to focus on community, which I think is very, very important.
I would like to give one big shout out to the wonderful community of people who've signed up to run games already. We have a lot of dedicated storytellers, game masters, board game gurus, whatever you want to call them, and just library enthusiasts that as soon as I posted this again, have already signed up to run games. And they're like, hey, we heard what you're doing, and, we want to help. Because if you don't help run games in your community, then there's not going to be games in your community. Everybody wants to play, but sometimes you got to bite the bullet and help run too.
Yeah, I'm sort of weird. I like running games more than playing them. Just a lot of fun.
It's important. You got to have that culture. You got to have people that are willing to do it.
I think it's really cool, though, when you run those games, just to see, someone who's never played it before, just enjoy it so much. May have never even thought, a board game or an RPG could be this much fun. So it's really good running a game to seeing people enjoy it.
It's fun to experience new games for the first time, too.
Yes.
The other thing I find is, even if you've played that game for a long time, if you can bring in new players when they're experiencing it for the first time, and you brought them into the game and you see their eyes light up because they're doing cool stuff, that makes me feel good, because you kind of get to relive that. And it's about sharing that experience. Again, community. You're building that experience. You're sharing the community and sharing the experience with others, and it's a positive thing.
Yeah, and also playing with different groups of people really helps reinvigorate the games for you, because you get a different way of playing sometimes, different things you may not have thought of. Playing a game with the same group, you can tend to get the same strategies over and over again, but, it's new ideas coming through.
I was going to say, even better, if you're local, most of the people are probably local, you might see people that that you didn't know actually play these games. So you actually might find a game group or develop a game group that you didn't have before going to these.
Absolutely. So I've made tons of friendships over the years going to conventions, whether it's running games, playing at tables. I've made a lot of friends. You meet all kinds of people. And there may be some people that you run into, you say, maybe I don't want to play with that person again. But the overwhelming majority of the people I do. And I really think this is the kind of convention that people are showing up to have a good time more than they are showing up to power game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. They just want to relax, play something cool, and that makes a great environment.
The one thing I think was cool, this is a story from RockCon 2017. At the end of the con, we basically pulled the thing together in 4 months, and it was hectic because it was one day. The people who were volunteering, some of them didn't really understand or know anything about games or tabletop gaming or anything like that. Friends group, we guessed at how many people were going to be there. So they did their best with the food, and they were wonderful. One of the guys that came there, he's an older guy and he's retired and he helps with the library a lot. He helped all through the day. At the end of the night, we're sitting there in a room by ourselves, and I asked him, I said, this is the first time you've ever seen any convention. What do you think about this? And he sat back and he put his hand on his chin and he thought about it for a while. And like I said, this is an older guy. And he goes, I don't really understand anything that happened here today, but I know that it was a good thing. I thought, yeah, I'll take that. It's a good thing. We asked him to explain a little bit, and he talked about how, he saw people putting down their phones and talking to each other across the table. He saw people engaging with each other, making friendships. and he saw people having a good time and just generally a very, very happy atmosphere and people getting along. And he's like, I don't really understand what happened. He goes, but this is a good thing. I know that.
Yeah, that's one thing I like to see. It's just a general thing about board games. Like, you get a lot of people with social anxieties that are into board gaming, and all that goes away. It's like you're enjoying the game, you're meeting new people, and you're not feeling that anxiety.
It gives you a common thing to talk about, puts it at ease because you're there to talk about the game. You're not worried about whatever else happens to be going on in your life. You get to escape. Like you said earlier, it's a weekend retreat for gamers. On Saturday, they're going to do late night photo shoots as well. So they're going to have photo shoots for any of the cosplayers.
Okay.
That's a pretty cool thing. We talked about the Vampire, which I think is an excellent game. We've talked about the board games. Some of the people running the historical board games, fantastic. They're basically history buffs or history professors. There's just a lot of fantastic game masters that I've known for years that have come to run. And I just really want to thank them for helping the convention. Right now, like I said, we had 69 different scenarios of different games that are being run. Some of them are run multiple times through the convention. So there's a lot. And that's going to keep growing the whole way up until the convention. So I'll probably shut it off midway through October.
That is awesome. I mean, even if you're not playing games and stuff, just to meet these people would be really cool too. So you get to learn a lot about the culture.
You can come sit in on the panels. You can go try games. I know with the Vampire folks, they were like, you can come play our game. And if you want to step out and play anything else, then come back. That's fine too. They encouraged it to participate in the convention. The Fallout Airsoft and the Nerf LARPs, those are 4-hour slots. You might sign up for board games most of the convention, but then just for the morning or afternoon slot, you're like, I want to be one of the guys going out fighting Nerf. And then you play through that adventure. And when that's done, you can go back to playing other games.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and it's a lot of unique things that people created and poured their hearts into to do something special.
If you're walking around or whatever and you didn't have anything planned, I could bust out a board game, show you how to play it for 5 minutes, and get a group of people and just go.
Dungeons & Dragons is popular right now. We have the Adventurers League, and we have a ton of other Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition that are not Adventurers League. You know, you can play whichever one you like. We have Pathfinder, we have 1st edition Pathfinder, 2nd edition Pathfinder. It's just a very wide range and variety of games.
Yeah, obviously this is a family-friendly environment. I noticed there are some kids events. What kind of kids events do you offer?
Oh, on Sunday, there's going to be a kids costume contest. When the convention opens, you can start signing up. And then on Sunday, they're going to do a costume contest for any of the kids that want to come with costumes. 13 and under, we want accompanied by a parent. That way there's no issues. We don't have to worry about going somewhere they shouldn't be going or causing problems at a table or anything like that.
It's just generally for their safety, too.
For their safety, mostly. It's a big event, and I wouldn't really want young children running around by themselves. September 1st up until October 18th, we're going to run registration online. People can get a chance to pre-register there. All 3 days, it's $25, which for a convention, that's pretty cheap.
It's a very reasonable convention.
We talked a lot about events that you can sign up for. Should we talk about open gaming?
If you had a group of friends and wanted to sit at a table and play, that's completely acceptable. Or if you wanted to spin up a game on your own, by people walking by, that's acceptable too.
That also helps promote the people that just want to walk around and see what's happening, and they could just randomly join stuff if they want to, which is really cool.
There's some card games and some board games and things like that that might only be, a half an hour game. So you don't want to book a 4-hour slot for that.
Does the convention have a library, a game library for people to borrow things from?
Yeah, the Slippery Rock Gamers Guild has a game library, and I believe they are going to be bringing it this year. I'll have to double check with them. But they brought it to the 2017 convention, and it was just kind of open gaming, and they had a whole games library that they brought with them. And it was amazing. A lot of people took advantage of that.
I have to see what I can fit in my car. I'll probably bring a bunch of games with me, but limited space in a car.
Awesome. We do have some lodging arrangements. The lodging's a little bit further. We got a good rate at the Comfort Inn in Grove City, and we got rates at the Apple Butter Inn in Slippery Rock. The Fairfield's a little closer, but apparently Slippery Rock University had some kind of soccer event booked the same weekend. So they beat us to the convention rate there.
People that are looking to rent a room, do you have a link that they need to go to for that, or do they just need to contact these hotels directly?
Contact the hotels, and all of the information for them is on that Warhorn page. And you scroll down right after the event program and convention hours, talks about lodging. And the Apple Butter Inn and Comfort Inn are listed there with phone numbers, gives the rate that they quoted us.
So I'm assuming they go there, they just mentioned they're going to the con and they would get that special rate.
Yes. When they call, identify that you're going to Slippery Rock Con, and that's all they have to do. We got convention t-shirts we're going to get made up. We have the convention logo on a black shirt with the red logo this year.
Yeah, that shirt looks really good, too.
If you like dragons, you'll like the logo.
Who doesn't like dragons?
Are you guys going to have more of those dice towers?
There are some left over. We're going to bring there. We're doing a Game Master raffle. And every single game that you run, like so if you run a 4-hour slot of whether it's a board game, card game, LARP, whatever it is, you ran an event. For that time slot, your name will be in a drawing. So each time slot, we're going to pull a name of somebody who ran that time slot. And they might win a shirt, they might win a dice tower, or they might win a food card for food at the event.
You're also doing anything promoting people to run multiple games too, right?
Yeah, if you run 3 games, you get in for free. And then every single game that you run gives you a chance to win something more. In closing, I'd just like to say that I hope that we see lots of people there and that I want to see every single person there having a good time. I mean, that's my job, and my goal is that everybody who comes to the con leaves and had a good time and feels good about themselves when they leave. And at the end of the day, we make some money for the library too. You're helping a community resource, you're having a great time, you're making friends, and you get to feel good about yourself at the end of the day. That's what I want for everybody who comes.
That is a good goal. I think you guys met that the last time, so I'm super excited about going this year. It's going to be a great con. I hope it's going to be super successful. Thank you for letting us interview you there, Ron. I look forward to hanging out with you and playing some games coming up.
Awesome. I do too.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, join our BGG Guild, guild number 2989, or you could join our guild by going to tabletopgamingguild.com/guild. You can also join our Slack channel where we're going to discuss board game related topics and our next podcasts. You can also visit our website, tabletopgamingguild.com, and you can email us at tabletopgamingguild@gmail.com. The Tabletop Gaming Guild podcast is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved. Thanks again for listening.